I need a charger. Okay, good evening, everyone. How are my seven-figure business owners doing tonight? So, I know a lot of times when we're starting our business or growing our business, we're like really focused on, like doing the business stuff. But I want to make sure that everyone understands, what we need to do to protect, our business, our personal assets, the assets that you may acquire in the future. This hair, I got stuck in the rain and, she just hasn't been acting right, but she'll have to just do. So I want to kind of just go over why you need a holding company, the benefits of a holding company, and the different types of assets that we can be putting into the holding company. Because I don't know. I always say that, this is going to be our takeover year. We don't know what kind of income bracket we're going to be come December. So you want to make sure that we have all of our ducks in a row. Okay. So I'm going to get my glasses out. So starting with you. You as a person, okay? When we're talking about asset protection, what we're talking about is putting a layer of protection around what you own, okay? So, if this is you, you want to kind of put some barriers around you and the stuff that you own. So, if you personally own a home, and when I'm saying if you own something, this means that you own it outright. So there's no mortgage. If it's a vehicle, there's no loan. That means you have the title to the car. You have the deed. You have the trademark. You have the patent for the function or for your recipe or your formula. You own it, okay? One thing, if you personally own it. So I know a lot of people are getting trademarks. They want to protect their business name, but they probably file for their trademark in their own personal name. Okay, so if this is you got a trademark, and then maybe let's say you have a vehicle that's paid off and your grandma left you her house, so you have some property. Now, if you are riding around town, it's raining, you hydroplane, you crash into the car in front of you, total accident, the person's paralyzed for life, they sue you for $2 million, you only had $1 million coverage for your insurance policy, you are now on the hook for that $1 million, okay? So, they are going to, called execute a judgment. They're going to come to you and start seizing things that you own. We don't want to lose our trademark. We don't want to lose our grandma's house, and we don't want to lose the car that we own outright. So, a holding company is just an LLC or a corporation. I always say an LLC because it's less corporate formalities that you have to do to keep the asset protection. And a holding company is going to just hold the assets, meaning I'm going to transfer the deed of my grandma's house into my holding company. I am going to transfer the title and have the car registered to the holding company. I am going to put the trademark in my holding company's name. You can have one holding company that owns all of your assets. A holding company is going to be an LLC or a corporation that does not do any business with the outside world. Okay, so it's not another LLC that you have that is doing business. It is not going to be entering into contracts. It's not going to be doing any kind of financing. We're not building any kind of business credit on our holding company for American Express to now come and sue us. No one knows about the holding company but you and the attorney that set everything up. That's all who knows about the holding company. Okay, so the assets are going to be held in the holding company. So, same scenario. You run around town on the freeway, hydroplane, crash, paralyze someone, $2 million judgment. You only have $1 million coverage. You're on the hook for $1 million. They're now coming, knocking on your door to take your assets. you personally don't have any assets. So we're not losing our assets, okay? Same scenario if you have a business. So you have a business, maybe we have some company vehicles in our name. Maybe we own the commercial real estate that our business is in. Once again, a trademark. So you're doing business and we have these assets and life is great and you've been working all this time to get your business together. But now we're in a contract dispute and we lose. They can now seize all of whatever that LLC owns. Okay, so same scenario. We're going to form an LLC. We're going to transfer the title. We're going to transfer the deed. We're going to have our trademark, whatever assets you have. If you have a patent for a formula for your hair growth oil, if you have a utility patent for the functionality of something, that's going to be held by the holding company. Okay. So your business gets sued, it doesn't lose the asset. The thing with an asset is, one, it probably took you some time to acquire it. Number two, a lot of times it accumulates or appreciates in value. Okay, so a trademark for McDonald's when McDonald's first started probably wasn't worth a lot of money. Okay, if I was able to sue McDonald's and get the trademark, it'd be worth a lot of more money now. Okay, and second thing is, in business you are going to get sued. Doesn't mean you're going to lose a lawsuit, but in business you will get sued. Okay, but if maybe we did make a mistake, our employee made a mistake, something happened, that's also normal in business. You are going to make a mistake. You are going to do something wrong. And you may get sued and you may lose a lawsuit. It's not going to be the end of the world. You just don't want to have to lose the lawsuit and then come up with now having to recover all of the assets. That's going to be a big blow. So a holding company is going to be a company that's going to hold assets. Another way we can use a holding company would be if you want to have like a parent subsidiary corporate structure. So basically, if you are a serial entrepreneur, maybe we have multiple businesses and you want them to all be owned by one entity. You would form a holding company, and then that holding company would house all of your subsidiaries. Okay, so we'll form a holding company. So I'm going to have a trucking company. I'll have Airbnb. I will have a restaurant. And then I will have, I need a service. Let's do some lashes because mine needs to be done tomorrow. So this will be our trucks. This will be the real estate. This will be the equipment. So I will form my holding company, which is an LLC. Okay, a holding company, once again, we just chimed on, it's an LLC or a corporation, but it's the functionality of how you're using it that makes it a holding company. Okay, so we're going to have our holding company. I'm going to have it's going to own my trucking company. It's going to own my second LLC for my Airbnb. It's going to own my restaurant, and it's going to own my eyelash company. Okay, so if we don't have any assets yet, but we all know that we are a seven-figure, business owner, you can just kind of start your structure up the correct way. So let me give everyone 2 options. Hold on. There's more than one way to skim a cat. So if we want to do like a parent subsidiary, or they'll call it an umbrella company, you can have your one LLC own all of your subsidiaries, okay? Or you can just have multiple LLCs. So you have your holding company and then LLC number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. Okay? So the holding company is just what it's doing. It's once again, it's not doing any business. If you do business with the holding company, it kind of defeats the purpose of setting it up. Because if that business were to get sued and you lose, we're now going to lose everything in the holding company. Okay? So if we are maybe a more seasoned business owner and we have multiple LLCs, or we're starting like we already have our conglomerate in our mind, you know, God already blessed you with the vision. We're just trying to get everything out into fruition. If you have this structure and we're making money, like we're not like pre-revenue, we're making money, then the easiest thing, if you want to kind of just give you like a little more game, we would make, you can make, I'm going to do it differently. I'm going to give you, well, once again, I'm going to give you more, I'll give you more than one way to skin a cat. In fact, I'm not going to give you another way to skin a cat. I don't like that. I'm going to change it. If you want this parent subsidiary, we need to do it a little bit better. I mean, a little bit different. You need to have a parent company. And I'll tell you why we're not going to do it the other way. So it'll make sense. Okay. I showed y'all this, but I forgot about some alphabet boys, so we're not going to play with them. That's the I, the R, and the S. If you want to do a parent subsidiary or like a parent umbrella company, we'll have our holding company, and then we're going to form a parent company. This LLC is going to then own LLC number 1, LLC number 2, and LLC number 3. Okay? The reason why you may want to do this is if you have a business that's making money, and I'm going to say if we're at about that $60,000 to $80,000 in profit a year, this will make your life a whole lot simpler. We would just make our parent company an S Corp. So then, okay, if I have a restaurant, Airbnb, and trucking, they're all making money. I'm going to just charge a management fee that my parent company would charge. Well, I'll get all the income out of these LLCs via a management fee, funnel all that up to my parent company. My parent company will be taxed as an S Corp, so I'm not paying that self-employment tax on all my money. The reason why I didn't want to do this structure like this is because if I make this, if you make your holding company an S Corp, and we're funneling everything through, and we get hit with like a tax debt, the IRS is definitely about to come take all your stuff. Okay, so when I say no business, like we don't want to do payroll through the holding company. It's like no one knows about the holding company but you. Okay, so the holding company will be here. If you want this set up, you got to have a parent company and then have those companies on the LLCs. Okay, you don't have to have that. You can also have the multiple LLCs. Well, how am I able to use the assets? I'm glad you asked. Let me do a little ping. Let's do a little ping. Let's kind of liven up this. So we're going to say that my holding company owns, my pen just broke. We're going to say our holding company owns all the assets. So we're going to have a lease agreement. between the holding company and the LLC. Okay, so if I own trucks, here's my trucking company. I'm going to have a lease agreement. So if I were to go to Penske and lease a truck, I'm going to have a lease agreement between my holding company and my trucking LLC. So whatever is the going rate for a truck or whatever you want to charge your holding company, then we're going to, hey, $500 a month. This LLC will pay the holding company to be able to use the truck. If you own some real estate and you're doing Airbnb, we do not want to do the Airbnb in the same LLC that owns the apartment complex or the duplex or the home. We don't want to rent or have a tenant and have that lease agreement between the LLC that owns that property if the tenant falls and breaks their neck. If your Airbnb guests have a party, turn up, and, someone, drowns in the pool because they're drunk. They are suing whatever is the business name on that lease agreement. They are suing whatever is that business name on that Airbnb contract. So if you own the duplex, if you own the home, and we're also doing business in that same entity, you are risking losing that property. Or if you don't own the property all the way outright, but there's more equity in the home than what you owe on it, they can cause you to refi or take an equity line of credit out to pay off that debt. Okay, so we want to have the holding company own the property, and then we have a lease agreement between LLC number 2 and the holding company to lease that property to this LLC to be able to use. Okay, now when we're talking about asset protection, we're talking about structuring things correctly. We're not just like saying it and then we're going to form the LLC and then that's it. You have to actually run it like it's a real structure, okay? If you signed a lease agreement with Lexus to lease a car, when you leave, they're going to be calling you on the next month for that car payment. You can say, oh, I thought we was just, doing something just to do something. No, you signed a lease agreement and you need to pay every month. So although you may own all of these entities, each entity is a separate person, okay? So if we have a lease agreement, then every month this company needs to either be wiring the money to the holding company for the lease, writing a check to the holding company for the lease. This transaction needs to happen. I don't care if we're taking the money from one LLC to the second LLC, and then we got to take it out the holding company to go pay some bills. This transaction needs to happen, okay? Because you got to remember, your business attorney or me I'm trying to make sure everything is structured correctly. The person who's suing you is trying to see how can I break this barrier, okay? So once again, this is you. We got our LLC, we got our holding company, we got our barriers up like bam, I'm protected. Now, once you get sued, you got a holding company. Okay, you say you got a lease agreement. Let me see your lease agreement. They're going to subpoena that. Let me see your bank statements. They're going to subpoena your bank statements for your holding company. Are you really paying the holding company every month to use it, or did you just sign a lease agreement and then that's it? Okay, so this will be called, let me get black. This is going to be serious. This is going to be called piercing the corporate veil, okay? They are trying to knock all this down to come get you and everything you own. They're trying to knock all this down to get to that holding company, to get to the assets, okay? So as a business owner, you're trying to put walls up to protect yourself. The creditor is trying to tear those walls down, okay? So whoever does the best job wins. So you want to make sure that if you do form the holding company and we're doing the lease agreements and we're actually paying the holding company to make that lease agreement valid, not just setting it up. Same with your LLC. You can't just form the LLC and then we don't file our annual report and then we got the money in the personal account. Like, it's all of this stuff, think of it like Walmart. You have to run it like you are a multi-million-dollar business. And everyone on this live is a multi-million-dollar business, whether the money hasn't hit the account yet, the money's coming. You have to, in your mind, I don't have a side hustle. If you're taking away time from your friends, your family, your kids, having fun stuff to work this business, you want it to work and be able to last and be able to sustain a little rocky situation. Okay. So that is how you would form your entity structure with the lease agreement. So once again, a little recap, we do not want to do any business with an LLC that owns assets for asset protection reasons. Can you do it? Yes, you can. Okay, so it's not against the law to do it. It's just not the smartest thing to do. If you don't own any assets, you don't have to have a holding company. If you want to have this parent subsidiary structure, if you want to have this parent subsidiary structure, then you would need to form this first so you can have everything aligned, or we'll have to amend some stuff to kind of get everything how this needs to be. Okay. Now I do get a lot of questions about trusts. Okay. So a trust and a holding company are kind of similar as far as what they are doing in asset protection. Okay. It's like a Mercedes and a BMW. They're both luxury cars, okay? Depending on, are you a Benz person, you're a BMW person, do you like certain features more, but they're both luxury cars. A trust is going to be a little bit more it's a little bit more timely process to form, and we're not able to really move or zig and zag stuff out the trust. Like once it's in a trust is meant to just to protect that asset. And once it's in there, that's it. Okay. In business, sometimes we may need to move some things around. Okay. So let me see. I have a restaurant. I have a really big soul food restaurant. We're going to call it Joy's Barbecue. And maybe one of my vendors for my supplies kind of increased the price. I didn't know it, and my manager signed off on an order, but my order's now double the price. And so I'm like, well, I don't want that. I didn't sign off on it. They're saying that, my manager signed off on it. She's an agent of me. So I already know we are having some issues. We are not seeing eye to eye. When you don't see eye to eye in business, what's coming up next is called a lawsuit. Okay, we're not gonna go outside and go. It's a different realm in business. So when we're going back and forth, well, I thought it was this and you thought it was that. We already know a lawsuit's coming. So if I know, I'm not seeing eye to eye on this, a lawsuit is coming, I'm going to be proactive. So whatever I may have had in that entity, I'm already moving it. Okay. Because in case something goes down, I want to be protected and not have anything in that LLC. Okay. So whether that may be, maybe I have like a lot of money in the bank that may need to move. Maybe I was financing a car in my business name and I just paid it off and I haven't done the technicalities of moving things. But if you know that something may be coming down that pipeline, you want to kind of move some things around. Or let's just say we're trying to get financing for one of our entities, right? And maybe the bank's like, well, your revenue is good. Do you have any kind of assets, any kind of collateral? So I can move some assets from the holding company to kind of get approved for this loan and then kind of move them back. So it's a holding company. In business, you're going to have to zig and zag. Okay. You're going to have to move some things around. You got to shake, shake around sometimes because things just happen. So if you are having business assets, a holding company would be a great thing. I always say go make an appointment with an estate planning attorney in your area. Estate, E-S-T-A-T-E. An estate planning attorney is the type of attorney that's going to form a trust. They're going to tell you how much it's going to cost. You have to fund the trust by having assets. And, can I move the assets? There's going to be different types of trusts. So I always say, if you don't know what it is, like, don't just go off of Instagram. Go sit down with an estate planning attorney and find out what the cost is. How much can we move these things around? Do you even need to be moving these things around? Like, what is the best thing for you to do? Okay. A holding company is going to be great on the business side, but maybe you have something else. I'm just trying to educate you. I don't know what every single person on this live has going on. I don't know what every person on this live's agenda is. Like, I don't know, y'all. I'm just talking to myself on this camera. So you want to make sure that you're making the best choice for you. Okay. So if a trust is something that you're interested in, talk to an estate planning attorney as far as what that process looks like, and then what are my options as far as moving things around, okay? A holding company, if you want a holding company form and lease agreements, I always say book a business structure call so I can actually hear all what you have going on now or what you plan on having to go on, and then I can kind of tell you the best way to set things up, okay? So that is how I would do that. Another reason why you don't want to have any assets is a lot of times people are going to get you on those merchant advance loans, okay? They're going to hit you up. We're going to give you $10,000 tomorrow. We don't need anything, just sign this paperwork. And you're just so fired up that you're about to get this money. You don't understand. They're about to make you pay an arm and a leg every single day. That interest, and they condense the loan like in 12 months. It is designed to put you out of business, okay? So if you have a merchant loan, if you've defaulted on a merchant advance loan, if the word UCC lien, if any of this is ringing a bell, you don't want to have any assets in that LLC, okay? So anyone dealing with a merchant advance loan, a judgment, a UCC lien, that entity just needs to go away, okay? Because once you get that UCC lien, what you don't want to do is wake up and that bank account has been levied, okay? So that LLC just needs to just rest in peace, and you need to form another entity, have a new bank account, a new point of sale system, and keep it moving, okay? Or if you want to, pay the loan, but by the time you get a judgment, the interest, the attorney's fees, it's just going to be a shitstorm, okay? If you get anyone contacting you about a merchant advance loan, unless you have a very strong cash flow that can handle that kind of payment, that's not the loan that you want to get if you're just trying to get some money to help grow your business. That's the kind of loan you're going to get where I know I have some money coming in 30 days. I just need to kind of play with the church's money for a little bit to kind of get through, point A to Z, and then I'll be good. But that's also the benefit of, if you do have your structure, we can just dissolve a company, maybe just forget about the company, and then we'll just form us another LLC and keep things moving, okay? That's why I always say, whenever you're forming a company, form two. You never know what's going to happen. Now, if we can't afford to form two companies and we're still trying to get, inventory, and I'm not saying for if you're there to do that, okay? If you are a more seasoned business owner and, the cash flow is great, whenever you form a company, form two, okay? Get the LLC. Get an email address, get a bank account, get a point of sale system, whatever licenses and permits, you're going to have all of that just sitting. So just in case something happens, we are good to go. I always say, I form my dealership, form two. Got 2 DMV licenses, 2 OCC licenses, go ahead and, get my domain name, my branded email, not no Gmail, point of sale system, all that. So if anything were to happen, luckily nothing, if you set it up for, if something were to happen, 9 out of 10 times, nothing will happen. Okay. But if you don't set it up right, something probably will happen. So you don't want to be stressed out about that. Okay. So this is how the holding company structure will look if you want to have that parent subsidiary, or it'll just be multiple LLCs. They don't have to all be under that umbrella company, but your holding company is who's going to own all the assets, and we will have lease agreements between the different LLCs to this holding company for being able to use the asset. A trademark is an asset, once again, that needs to be protected. If it's in your name and you were to get sued, you can lose that asset. A patent, okay? So if you have any kind of formula that you're getting the patent on, any kind of recipes, any kind of functionality like a utility patent, you want to make sure that that asset is owned properly. We kind of, when we're starting a business, I've been there, I get it, that's why I'm talking about it. We are so into getting the business up. Making payroll, making rent, hiring, getting the inventory, getting the contract, securing the deal. It's real easy to get in your business and get stuck every day with being in the business. Then you look up, a year's gone, 2 years has gone by, and, I'm going to get to that, or I'm going to get to that, and we don't get to it. And then boom, something happens and you're just like, ooh, why didn't I do this sooner? Or I'm telling you what needs to be done. If the budget isn't ready for it, it's not a problem. You just know, once I get these extra sales, or once I make X amount a month, before I go and turn up at Essence Fest, before I go and get that new bag, let me go get my holding company. Maybe you get that bag today, Chanel gonna have a new one in 6 months. It's gonna be an old bag. Okay, you get those shoes today, baby, the seasons change. They're gonna be old in 3 months. That holding company, this structure, these lease agreements is gonna protect you forever. So if it's not in the budget now, it's great to know what your business will need in the future, so you know exactly what to do once that cash flow starts coming in. Okay, so that is the benefit of having a holding company, and then that is why you should always form a holding company. If you don't have assets and you want to be proactive, like if you're the kind of person who, always gets the highest amount of insurance and you're just always protected, then go ahead and form that holding company now, just so that you're ready. If you don't have any assets and you form your holding company, that can also serve as your second LLC. I always say you should always have an LLC just waiting. Well, why? You never know when you're going to stumble upon an opportunity. You never know when you're going to just run into something and you just need to have a business quick. You just don't know. I just believe, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Okay, so I just have LLCs on deck. All I got to do is amend the name. What we doing now? Okay, let me go ahead and amend this name. Let me go ahead and get my domain name, my email address, this point of sale system, and I'm ready to go in less than a week. Okay, but I'm just that kind of extra person. So let me see. Do I have any questions regarding holding companies? How about this? This is too much to go through. If y'all got a question about setting up a holding company, just type it in the. See, I can't touch nothing because it's gonna make my stuff come out. But if you have a question regarding forming a holding company, you can put it in the chat real quick, and I'll try to answer a couple of them. But that is why we should be having a holding company. Can I set up a second LLC as my holding company? Yes, that is what the holding company is. It's going to be an LLC used just to hold the assets. So yes, ma'am. I am also thinking about doing a Start Your Business in 60 Days boot camp. So I don't know if I'm going to do like a 1-day webinar and it'll be like a little long, or if I'm going to do like a little 3-day boot camp. I'm pondering on that. But should my trust run the holding company? You can have a trust form a holding company. Once again, it's all that makes things a little bit more complicated. Okay, so, but yes, you can have a trust run your holding company, but your holding company really shouldn't be doing anything. It's just holding assets. Yes, I am recording this live so y'all can watch it later. How do you know we need a parent company and a holding company? A holding company is going to basically hold your assets. So if you own assets, you can have a holding company. Or if you want to have a parent subsidiary business structure, you can own the parent company. You can have a holding company. So let me not show you no wrong stuff. Let me get my other paper. If you own multiple LLCs and you want to funnel the money through them, you would have the holding company will then own the parent company. The parent company will then own the multiple LLCs. Whatever is the profit out the LLCs will be paid to the parent company in a management fee. You will make this parent company an S Corp, and you'll take your salary from this company. That way you're not having to do payroll for all these different companies. We are Xing out on that 15.3% self-employment tax, and we're making kind of things simple. So if this another reason for forming a holding company would have like this parent subsidiary structure if you don't have any assets. My shirt says pretty girls. What is better, a holding company or a trust? I like holding companies because I need to be able to move and do things with my assets. But like I said, go do a consultation with an estate planning attorney, and then you see what's going to be best for your needs. How do I transfer my LLC, vehicle, etc. into the holding company? That will be an amendment for the LLC. You got to change the structure. I would say book a call so it's done correctly. And then your vehicle, you will have to register it with the DMV with the title. So you need to have the title to be able to put the vehicle in the holding company's name. Can you please hold the structure up for the holding company? Oh, that's the holding parent. My first one was this. So this will be like the holding company. But we are not, if we're doing this, I would keep all of these just separate as far as how they're, don't funnel money up to this holding company to do that whole pay. Just keep this a holding company that just owns the LLCs. These LLCs just pay out how they earn money. If you want to only get paid out of one structure, then you would have the holding company own a parent company that will be the S Corp, and then you'll have your LLCs down owned by the parent company, making that income into a management fee. So all the income is going to be here. Those would be the two things. How do you file for taxes for the holding company? The holding company, nobody knows about. The holding company is just whatever you and your business attorney set up. So the IRS is not going to really be knowing about the holding company. Okay, we aren't doing anything with the holding company. If the holding company has so if you are doing a lease agreement and the holding company has income, you're going to file it the same as all the other entities. So if you're a single member LLC, then all your businesses file on your personal tax return on the Schedule C. If you are taxed as an S Corp, then your business files an 1120S, and you get a K1 to file on your personal tax return. But if we're not making any income, then we don't have to do anything as far as tax purposes for the holding company. Can a holding company hold my personal home and avoid probate upon death? So if the LLC, okay, we're now mixing personal and business. If you put your home in the LLC owns the home, so there is no probate. But the LLC is going to own the home, so there's no descendant or there's no succession laws that apply to a business. If you're wanting your home to be passed on to someone once you die, that's dealing with succession or descendants. That is estate law. Okay, so if you want to have your property not be able to be touched by creditors and then go to someone upon your death, you would want to put that property more than likely in a trust. A trust is going to pass it on. That's dealing with that succession law, descendants, estate planning, probate, all of that. You can put your home in a holding company, but upon your death, nothing changes because it's a business asset now. So if you were to die, whoever you're having to then run your business. If you have a spouse, you have a business partner, you have your kids coming in, all of that will be dealt with in your operating agreement. Okay, so yes, you can put your personal home in the business. That's now going to be a business asset, so no succession laws are going to apply. Can a holding company be put into a trust? Yes, it can. Would I have to amend my current LLC owner to be the holding company name? If you're trying to get that parent subsidiary, yes. I currently have one LLC. Should I make it my holding company and purchase another LLC? I would probably do that, yes. Any state you recommend besides Texas to have a holding company for any added benefits? You could, if you wanted to do an anonymous state so that no one knows you own the asset, you could do that. But the thing is, if you could, people are all into this, all into the other states. Yes, to answer your question, you could put it in an anonymous state. I always say it's just simpler just to keep everything with you wherever you are. The anonymous, but it depends on why you want to be anonymous. If you're just saying, hey, I heard about being anonymous and there's no pending lawsuit, there's no pending problems, like, I don't see the point in doing that. If you say, hey, I kind of have an issue with this creditor over here, or I have an issue with this ex-business partner over here, and I know we're about to end up in a lawsuit, but I'm trying to start something new, well, then I would say, well, yeah, it makes sense to go over there. So I kind of need to know your reasoning as to why you want to move something over there. If you don't have a real reason, I would say just form it in the state that you're in. Especially if you have assets that you're going to be using, like, having to go to the DMV and register the car and all that good stuff. Could I launch a setup, my holding company, in a different state and use a foreign certificate in each state to get funding? Yes, but we should not be getting funding with a holding company. A holding company, should not be doing any business. You can form an LLC, and then you form an LLC in any state, and then, yes, filing that LLC as a foreign LLC in different states will open up those state banks to you for funding. But funding is going to be based on business revenue. How do we create the lease agreements that connect the holding company to the other LLCs? You would just DM me. Can you refer a good trademark attorney? And I sure can. I refer trademarks to The Real Legal Queen. So on Instagram, her name is The Real Legal Queen. Everything is spelled normal. Let's see. So should we not get an EIN for the holding company yet? If you are doing a lease agreement and you're going to have banking, then you will need to get an EIN. Okay, so when I say no one needs to know, maybe I'm being like a little too extra. Meaning, I don't want the holding company to enter into contracts with people. I don't want it doing business besides doing business with one of your entities, because you aren't going to sue yourself. So if you are having a lease agreement to lease, a home or property or vehicles, then yes, you will need to have an EIN to get that business bank account. With employees, would payroll be paid by the parent company or the LLC? So if we have this set up, these companies are going to pay the employees that are not you out of their respective entity. You're going to pay all your bills. So everything will be ran like this doesn't exist. Okay, so your payroll for your employees will come out of here. You're going to pay your rent. You're going to pay your light bill. You're going to do all your expenses are going to come out this account like none of this exists. Okay? Since you own all of this, you don't want to, it's going to be a little costly if you have to if you're getting 3 payroll checks, okay? Because that's going to be 3 payroll checks. That's going to be, 3 payroll processing fees. It's just a lot. What we're going to do is whatever is the profit or the income from these after we pay our expenses, it'll be we're going to pay the parent company a management fee for managing the company, and this is who's going to pay you. So the parent company won't probably have a lot of expenses, but this is where we're going to use our payroll for you, because this one can be taxed as an S Corp. If you are an S Corp, you have to be on payroll. So if you make all of these entities an S Corp, then you have to be on payroll for all of these entities. That means a whole nother tax return for all of these entities. And an average business tax return is going to be between $750 and $2,000. So to make things simpler, since you are all of this, I would keep these as regular LLCs and then just funnel all the income up to the parent company to pay you. Can you be the business attorney? Yes, I can. Just book a business structure call so I can see what you need. So don't get a tax ID for the holding company. If you're going to have banking for the holding company for lease agreements, then yes, you do need an EIN number. Hi. How do you name your holding company? The holding company could be any name that you want it to be. What about a holding company inside of a trust? Yep, you can put a holding company inside of a trust. Does the property in a trust have to be paid off? Yes. So, yes, a property in a trust and a property in a holding company. You have to own the property. You don't own a property that has a mortgage on it. The bank owns it. Can you please refer? Am I reading all questions? When you recommend setting up a second LLC for the same business with the setup in the name same, you can make the name similar. Yes, you can. Or you could just make it generic and get either a DBA or an assumed name certificate or a fictitious name to have it be a similar name. But yes, it could be a similar name. Just for any added benefits compared to the state you are in. I'm in Texas, just me and no problem. Okay, if you're in Texas, Joseph, then just form your LLC in Texas so that everything. See, Make it as simple as possible, because unless you are a business attorney and this is what you do, I don't need you to go spend 10 hours learning what Wyoming requires for their LLCs and what you got to do. So just make it simple. So when you are filing your franchise tax report, you're going to just file 2. Like, everything is just going to be simpler for you to run. And forming it is one thing, running it correctly is the most important part. So make it as simple for you to be able to sustain it. I have to buy your grant bundle. Well, come on, girl. Where do you start the process of a holding company? I would say book a consultation to see what you need, but the holding company is going to be forming an LLC. I have a corporation that I brought and want to transfer it to the name. What form do I fill out? I have a corp that I bought and want to transfer it to my name. Oh, you would do an amendment. When starting an LLC under the holding company, how do we apply for the EIN? Is the EIN company listed on the IRS application? So to get an EIN number, there has to be a responsible party, meaning there has to be a real person with a real social link to that EIN. So the EIN is going to be in your name. Do you apply for grants? I do not apply for grants. I do have a business grant bundle that has training videos. It has workbooks. It has a link to 900 business grants that are going to teach you how to fill out the grant applications. I understand that holding companies should not do business, but can I hold tons of money in the holding company? Randolph, you sure can. You sure can. Can you refer a good tax strategist that does taxes also? Okay, Miss Real, so you need a CPA. You can look on Instagram for the tax CEO, or is it Sassy Accountant or the Sassy Accountant? Hold on. The tax CEO or Sassy Accountant. Both of those would be on Instagram, and they're both really good. I never received my consultation call the other day. The baby, what's your name, sweetie? What's your name? If I didn't call you, then just book another one. But I think I called everyone. But just book another one. I'll call you. So the parent company files taxes instead of the separate LLCs. No. Okay. Boom, 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 boom. Let me make a visual for y'all. Okay. If you are an LLC and you are a single member LLC, meaning you are the only member of the LLC, you and the LLC file one tax return. Okay, so you're going to add an extra form on your 1040 called a Schedule C. On the Schedule C, you're going to be putting all the income, expenses, boom, 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 but it's one tax return. It's your personal tax return. Okay, they may charge you a little bit more, adding that extra form in there, but it's just one tax return. However, if you are an LLC taxed as an S Corp, you have to file your own return. Okay, so a business tax return is due a month before the personal. So April 15th, so September 15th, if you have an LLC tax as an S Corp, your LLC is going to file its own tax return. Then once it files its tax return, whatever is that profit, you're going to get something called a K1. A K1 is going to be like a 1099 form. Whatever was the income of this business, you'll get a K1. And you're going to file that K1 on your personal tax return. So we have two tax returns that we're having to file if we have an LLC tax as an S Corp. If you're okay with filing separate tax returns, that's fine. For my entities, I'm not a fan of this. My entity structure is more is this. I just have different LLCs. Well, yeah. Well, I do both. I have some that are like this, but for the most part, I have my different LLCs. They're just separate LLCs. There is no like conglomerate. So I'm having to pay about $1,700 for each of my LLCs because, there's a lot going on for those businesses. If you don't mind paying that extra money and you want to keep things separate, there is no right or wrong as to how you have it structured. So whether you just want to have a lot of LLCs and you have your holding company and you're just doing you and you're okay with paying all this and this is fine, that's fine. If you want to have this structure because you feel like this is going to be doing something, that's fine. You have a half a dozen in one hand and 6 in the other. It's business. Whatever is best for you. So if you have them separate, and they're taxed as S Corp. See, once you start making a certain amount of money, you're going to have to come on over to making that S Corp election, or that self-employment tax is going to be killing you. Okay, so if you have all of these S Corps, this is going to be a little bit more, tax fee. But that's the price of doing business. That's the price. Does that mean that your LLCs will never technically have a profit if all the profit ends up being paid to the management fee? So if you are doing this, structure, then these will not have a profit. Everything's going to come up here. Okay? So if you don't want that, you don't have to do this. You can just have them owned by here, but this LLC is going to have its own tax form and have its own income. It can apply for its own financing. I'm just kind of giving you guys different ways of how you can set things up. Okay, I operate my business in Florida and want to remain anonymous. I watch your reels. Before I was going to open up an LLC in Wyoming. Can you explain the process? Okay. You cannot just form an LLC anywhere you want if we don't have a business presence. If you don't have a business presence in Wyoming, meaning you don't have anyone that works for you there, you're supposed to register that Wyoming LLC as a foreign LLC in Florida. If you don't want anyone to know your name, that you own the business, then you can form an anonymous LLC in Wyoming, New Mexico, Nevada, Delaware. Is it 4 or is it 5? It's 4. Nevada, Delaware, New Mexico, Wyoming. But if you're supposed to then register it as a foreign LLC if you're not doing business in that state. The grant bundle is live. Thanks, girl. I'm in my business with my husband and want to sign it over to him 100%. How can I go about doing that? Garcia, you would just do an amendment and you would just remove yourself as a member. How can we book a consultation with you? If you click the link in my bio, I have a link for consultation. Okay, so no matter what, I'll be linked to my holding company. Yes, you're going to be linked. Anything dealing with EINs, banking, you are linked, right? So the holding company isn't to not let people know that you own the asset. The holding company is so that they can't touch the asset. It's like walking up to a store and it's closed. And you can still look in there and you can see everything, but I just can't go in there and shop. I just can't go in there and pick it up. So, yes, you will be linked to the holding company via the EIN. Okay, so can a single member LLC choose to be taxed as an S Corp? Yes, you can. You're going to have to be on payroll. So if you have the cash flow to sustain that payroll, meaning